The ocean was calm that morning in November 2012. Too calm. The kind of stillness that experienced fishermen don't trust. The kind that comes before something changes. José Salvador Alvarenga stood on the dock in Costa Azul, Mexico, a small fishing village on the Pacific coast. At 36 years old, he was known as a skilled fisherman, someone who understood the sea's moods, its rhythms, its dangers. He'd been fishing these waters for years, supporting his family back in El Salvador with whatever the ocean provided. Today was supposed to be simple. One day out, one day back. Easy money. His boat was a 24-foot fiberglass skiff called the Camaro Nero. Nothing fancy. No GPS. No emergency beacon. Just a basic radio, an ice cooler, and a 75-horsepower outboard motor. The kind of boat thousands of fishermen use every day along the coast. His crewmate was a 23-year-old man named Ezequiel Cordoba. Everyone called him Piñata. He was young, inexperienced, but eager to work. This would be his second trip with José. They loaded their supplies. Fishing nets. A few bottles of water. Some basic food. Enough for a day, maybe two if the fishing was good. The sun rose over the water, painting the sky orange and gold. José started the engine. And they headed west into the open Pacific. For the first few hours, everything went according to plan. They traveled about 120 kilometers offshore, far beyond the sight of land where the big fish lived. Mahi-mahi, tuna, sharks. These waters were rich if you knew where to look. José did. By mid-morning they'd caught several good-sized fish. The cooler was filling up. This would be a profitable trip. But around noon José noticed something. The wind shifted. The air pressure dropped. On the horizon to the north, dark clouds were forming, stacking on top of each other like mountains made of shadow. "We should head back," José said to Piñata. They pulled in the nets and turned the boat toward shore. But the storm was faster. Within an hour the sky turned from blue to gray to black. The wind picked up, howling across the water like a living thing. Waves that had been gentle swells now rose into walls of water, 3 meters high, then 4, then 5. The small boat climbed each wave and crashed down the other side. Water poured over the sides. José gripped the motor's tiller, trying to keep the bow pointed into the waves. If they turned sideways they'd capsize. If they capsized they'd die. "Bail," he shouted to Piñata. "Keep bailing." The younger man grabbed a bucket and frantically scooped water out of the boat, but more kept coming in. The wind shrieked. Lightning split the sky. Thunder rolled across the ocean like cannon fire. Then the engine sputtered, coughed, and died. José pulled the starter cord. Nothing. Again. Nothing. The salt water had flooded it. They were powerless now, completely at the mercy of the storm. For 6 hours the ocean threw them around like a toy. Waves crashed over them. The wind screamed. José and Piñata clung to the boat, bailing water, praying, barely able to see each other through the spray and rain. When dawn finally came, the storm had passed. The ocean was calm again. But everything had changed. José looked around. 360 degrees of empty ocean. No land. No boats. No birds. Nothing but water and sky. The storm had carried them far offshore, maybe hundreds of kilometers. José didn't know. Without instruments, without stars to navigate by during the storm, he had no idea which direction was home. He checked their supplies. The cooler with their catch had been washed overboard. Most of their food was gone. They had maybe 2 bottles of water left. The radio was dead, soaked with salt water. The motor was still flooded and wouldn't start. They had a GPS device, but its battery was dying. José turned it on and saw their position. They were over 450 kilometers from the coast. Too far for anyone to hear them even if the radio worked. "What do we do?" Piñata asked, his voice shaking. José looked at the younger man. He saw fear there, raw and real. "We wait," José said. "Someone will look for us. The Coast Guard will come. We just have to survive until they find us." He tried to sound confident. But inside, a cold knot of fear was forming in his stomach. The Pacific Ocean covers 165 million square kilometers. Their boat was 7 meters long. Finding them would be like finding a grain of sand on a beach. Still, José clung to hope. They'd been gone less than 2 days. People knew they were out here. Search parties would be organized. They just had to stay alive. Days passed. No rescue came. The bottles of water ran out on day 3. That's when the real suffering began. Survival, 6:30 to 10 o'clock. Thirst is worse than hunger. The human body can survive weeks without food. But without water you have days. Maybe a week if you're lucky. José and Piñata were surrounded by water, but couldn't drink a drop of it. Seawater is full of salt, and drinking it would only dehydrate them faster, shutting down their kidneys and killing them. They waited for rain. When it came, they were ready. They used the empty water bottles, a tarp, anything that could catch the precious drops. They opened their mouths to the sky and drank directly from the clouds. They licked moisture from every surface of the boat. It was never enough. Their lips cracked and split. Their tongues swelled. Their skin burned under the relentless tropical sun, turning darker, peeling, bleeding. But the thirst was manageable compared to the hunger. After a week, José's stomach felt like it was eating itself. The hunger pains were constant, sharp, demanding. He grew weak, dizzy. His thoughts became cloudy. That's when he remembered something his grandfather had told him years ago: the ocean provides. If they couldn't wait for rescue, they had to provide for themselves. José studied the water around the boat. Small fish darted in the shade beneath the hull. They were attracted to the boat, using it as shelter from larger predators. José tried to catch them with his hands. Too fast. He fashioned a crude spear from a piece of broken wood. Missed again and again. Finally he succeeded. A small fish no bigger than his palm. He grabbed it, felt it thrash in his hands, and bit into it immediately. Raw. The taste was awful. The texture made him gag. But he forced it down. Protein. Calories. Life. He caught another and gave it to Piñata. I can't, the younger man said, looking at the raw fish with disgust. You have to, José said. Eat or die. Those are the choices. Piñata ate. Over the following weeks they developed a system. José became skilled at catching fish with his bare hands. They discovered they could attract birds to the boat by staying still, then grab them when they landed. Seabirds. They ate those too raw, everything except the feathers and beaks. They caught sea turtles, flipping them into the boat when they swam close. José would kill them quickly, then butcher them. They drank the turtle blood for moisture. Ate the meat. Even cracked open the bones and sucked out the marrow. It was disgusting. It was survival. The raw fish gave José diarrhea, making his dehydration worse. His body cramped. His stomach revolted. But he kept eating because the alternative was starvation. His mind began playing tricks on him. He hallucinated land on the horizon, only to watch it disappear as they drifted closer. He heard voices calling his name. He dreamed of his family, of his home in El Salvador, of his mother's cooking. The dreams were so vivid that waking up felt like dying all over again. At night, the ocean was completely black. No moon. No stars, sometimes just clouds. José would lie in the bottom of the boat, rocking with the waves, and wonder if he was the last person alive in the world. The loneliness was crushing. But he had Piñata. For a while. About 2 months into their drift, José noticed changes in his crewmate. Piñata was deteriorating faster than José. He was younger but less mentally prepared for the ordeal. He'd grown thin, skeletal. His eyes had sunken deep into his skull. His skin stretched tight over his bones. But worse than the physical decline was the mental collapse. Piñata stopped eating. I can't anymore, he said when José offered him fish. I just can't. You have to eat, José urged him. We're going to make it. Rescue is coming. But Piñata just shook his head. He stopped talking after that. Stopped moving much. He'd just lie in the boat, staring at the sky with empty eyes. José tried everything. He caught the best fish. He encouraged him. He told him stories about what they'd do when they got home. He even got angry, shouting at the younger man to fight, to not give up. Nothing worked. Piñata had made his decision. He wanted to die. One morning, José woke up and immediately knew something was wrong. Piñata was lying in his usual spot, but something about him was different. José crawled over to him. Piñata? No response. He touched his shoulder. Cold. José shook him gently at first, then harder. No. No, no, no. Come on. Wake up. But Ezequiel Cordoba was gone. He'd died sometime during the night, probably in his sleep. José sat there for a long time, holding his crewmate's body, crying. Then came the horrible decision. What do you do with a dead body on a small boat in the middle of the ocean? José couldn't keep him. The heat would cause decomposition. The smell would be unbearable. And psychologically, José knew that living with a corpse would drive him insane. He said a prayer. Then he lifted Piñata's body and slid it over the side of the boat. The ocean took him without a sound. José was alone now. Completely, utterly alone. The loneliness that followed Piñata's death was different from anything José had experienced before. Before, even in the worst moments, there had been another human presence. Someone to talk to. Someone to share the burden with. Now there was nothing but silence. José began talking to himself, then talking to the birds that landed on the boat. He named them, had full conversations with them, asked them questions and imagined their answers. He talked to God. He talked to his dead mother. He talked to Piñata's ghost, apologizing over and over for letting him die. "I'm sorry," he'd say to the empty air. "I should have saved you." The isolation was torture. Humans aren't meant to be alone like this. We're social creatures. We need connection, conversation, touch. Without it, the mind begins to unravel. José felt himself slipping sometimes. He'd lose track of time. Hours would vanish. He'd wake up, not knowing if minutes or days had passed. He tried to keep track of time by the moon. Full moon to full moon was roughly a month. He scratched marks on the boat's hull, counting. But honestly, time stopped meaning much. There was only day and night. Hunger and thirst. Pain and brief moments without pain. Several times José considered ending it. The ocean was right there. He could just slip over the side. Stop fighting. Let the water take him like it took Piñata. It would be easy. But something kept stopping him. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was fear of what came after death. Maybe it was the faint, impossible hope that rescue might still come. Or maybe it was something simpler: if I'm still breathing, I'm not done. That became his mantra. Every morning when the sun came up and José was still alive, he'd say it out loud. "I'm still breathing. I'm not done." The physical toll was devastating. José's weight dropped from about 180 pounds to less than 120. His body consumed itself, burning muscle for fuel. His hair grew long and wild. His beard became a matted tangle. His skin, burned nearly black by the sun, was covered in sores and scabs. His teeth became loose from malnutrition. His eyesight weakened. He developed sores that wouldn't heal. But he kept going. He caught fish. He caught birds. When it rained, he caught water. He drifted. The ocean currents carried his small boat westward, across the vast Pacific. Thousands of kilometers. Past shipping lanes. Past islands he never saw. Through areas where no one would ever think to look for a lost fisherman from Mexico. Month after month after month. Seasons changed. The moon cycled through its phases over and over. José's sense of self began to dissolve. He was less a person and more a survival machine. Catch food. Drink water. Don't die. Repeat. Sometimes he wondered if he'd already died and this was hell. An endless ocean. Eternal loneliness. Punishment for some sin he couldn't remember committing. But then he'd catch a fish, feel its life thrashing in his hands and know he was still real. Still alive. Still fighting. After 438 days at sea, on January 30, 2014, José Salvador Alvarenga's boat drifted into the shallow waters surrounding a tiny atoll in the Marshall Islands, over 10,000 kilometers from where he'd started. He saw palm trees first. For a moment he thought it was another hallucination. He'd seen land before, only to have it disappear. But the trees stayed. And he could hear something he hadn't heard in over a year. Birds. Not seabirds but land birds. His boat scraped against coral. Then sand. José tried to stand and collapsed. His legs wouldn't support him. He crawled. Inch by inch, he dragged himself out of the boat that had been his prison and home for 14 months. His hands touched sand. Real sand. Solid ground. He collapsed face first onto the beach and wept. Two local people, Emi Libicmito and Russell Likidrick, found him there. They were terrified at first. This creature on the beach barely looked human. Long matted hair. Wild beard. Skin blackened and covered in sores. Skeletal. Moving weakly, making sounds that might have been words. But they helped him. They gave him water. Food. They called for help. José tried to explain where he'd come from, but his voice was a rasp. He'd barely spoken in months. The words wouldn't come right. When authorities arrived, they didn't believe his story at first. 438 days at sea? Impossible. 10,000 kilometers of drift? No one survives that. But the evidence was there. His boat covered in barnacles and algae. His emaciated body. The timeline matched. He'd left Mexico in November 2012. This was January 2014. The doctors examined him. Somehow, despite everything, he was alive. Severely malnourished. Dehydrated. Covered in infections and injuries. But alive. The scientific community was stunned. José had survived one of the longest ocean drifts in recorded history. Longer than any other solo survival at sea. He'd done it without supplies, without equipment, without training. Just raw will to survive. José's return to the world wasn't simple. He faced skepticism, accusations. Even a lawsuit from Piñata's family who claimed he must have eaten their son to survive. The autopsy on Piñata's body, never recovered, couldn't be performed. The accusations were never proven, but they haunted José. He suffered severe PTSD. The ocean haunted his dreams. The loneliness followed him even in crowds. He struggled to adjust to normal life. How do you return to ordinary existence after 438 days of fighting just to breathe? But he survived that too. He wrote a book about his experience. He gave interviews. He tried to make sense of what happened to him and why he lived when his crewmate died. Maybe there's no answer to that question. Maybe survival sometimes comes down to nothing more than luck, stubbornness, and waking up every morning and choosing to keep fighting. José Salvador Alvarenga didn't survive because he was stronger or smarter or better prepared. He survived because when everything was stripped away, his boat, his supplies, his companion, his hope, he still had one thing left: the refusal to quit. "If I'm still breathing," he'd said, "I'm not done." And for 438 days he kept breathing.